This is slightly different because I'm recording at night, so hopefully the lighting's okay and I look in the right direction, because this is a word that came to me quite recently. The basic theme is to do with humility. Coronavirus has given us the chance to stop and reflect. Our challenge may be to look at the inner vows we're tempted to make about what we will do when the lockdown is over. Some will be mentally planning trips abroad, others belated celebrations, others will just want everything to go back to the way it was. The government will be wanting everyone to spend money to kickstart the economy. Most people see this time as an important time. But in what way is it important? Some Christians have suggested that it might be the prelude to revival. Well, to be honest, I've kind of heard that before. And then before that. And then before that. I'm reminded of a scripture relating to the second coming. So if anyone tells you, there he is out in the desert, do not go out. Or here he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. The Lord will do what he wants to do. He will do it when he wants to do it. He will do it with a suddenness that we can try to be ready for, but in a way that we do not expect. That's an important thing to remember. God's bigger than our thoughts, our dreams, and our visions. And our calling is to lock in to his dreams and visions, rather than to insist upon our own. The Lord has been quietly rebuking me for my tendency to plan ahead, to try to anticipate his actions. We only have the mind of Christ to the extent that he chooses to share his thoughts with us. And while promises of revival are encouraging, we must be careful not to place ourselves in a quagmire of unfulfilled words that Jesus never truly gave us, or insist on a way or time that they are to be fulfilled that Jesus never intended. To this end, part of stopping is to clear our mind of our own agenda, to bin the bucket list, to tear up the future plans, to acknowledge before God that if this day were to be our last, and all those plans, therefore, would come to nothing, then his ways were still as just and as wise as they have ever been. I was reflecting on my current spiritual journey, which has had much to do with searching out ancient places and looking to unblock wells and to renew the Lord's ministry. One thing that occurred to me was that the most special places for me have often not been the places that we might think of as most significant. For example, I was more struck by St Nonna's Well than nearby St David's Cathedral, by the small chapel at Ramehead in East Cornwall, rather than the far bigger and more historically significant St Germans. or the ruins of the tiny St Helena's Chapel on Cape Cornwall, rather than any competing church structures on the Cornish peninsula. Springs may not be much to look at compared to rivers, but the Lord's value system is not the same as that of humanity, for the kingdom, the power and the glory are his. I see leaders of every tradition looking to manifest power and control, which may be right, as they have been given authority by God, but that is not the same as having a greater value than others. Too many of us seek to get our significance from our role in church life. The leader we associate with, our job title, or by seeking to otherwise define ourselves or the life we lead in some way that gives us a more special significance. The writing is on the wall for such attitudes. God has numbered our days of power and has brought them to an end. The future ministries that mean most to Christ will seep up from the ground, bringing fertility and fruitfulness, just as they did so many times in the past. Places of no significance can be of very great significance to God. There may be Columbus among us who can talk to kings, and there may even be great movements birthed from unusual places. But I believe that God's church is quietly and gently becoming less visible and will become invisible. It's dipping under the radar. This requires faith from all those who are looking for encouragement, because if it's under the radar, it can't be seen. For we will look for those things we cannot see, yet be surprised by blessings in hidden corners that come upon us without warning at a time chosen by God. An unseen blessing comes with an unseen church. It also requires faith to allow ourselves to be blown by the Spirit, to be immersed in prayer and the Word, and to keep from confusing busyness with godliness. Micah 6:8 reads, "He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." May the Lord lead us on a humble walk as we put our trust in him.